Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jerry Wick. I live in West Ellick, Ohio. I'd like to report that as of this morning, there's 5 trailers that have been demolished at the 32 Quaker Trace Trailer Park. I assume we're probably going to get the Sheriff's Office involved. There's still some people occupying trailers out there, but they started yesterday and got, I believe, 5 or 6 down. I took photographs, and on that line, I'm requesting the commissioners communicate to the prosecutor's office to see if Assistant Prosecutor Eric Merritt would be willing to meet with our attorney and come alongside and join our fight, because we have a common enemy, the EPA. So, you know, I'm just throwing that out there. I think, I mean, I would hope he would just at least sit or on a conference call, talk to our attorney and see if he would, if he'd join the fight. So that's all I got today. Thank you.
Just as a side note on the trailer park, I know that Vectrin went out because they had a complaint of gas, and Vectrin went out. One of our deputy sheriffs was out there and smelled gas, and he called Vectrin. Vectrin went out and shut all of the gas off to the entire trailer park, and they are not turning it back on. So.
And the electric's still on.
Yeah.
Electric power's still on.
Yeah. So, but just and that was by order of Vectrin. That was, the county didn't have anything in that. So.
Would anyone else like to speak? So we'll move on to the approval of minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to note receipt of and consider approval by signing the journalization and note receipt of the CD recordization, both as the official minutes for the January 11th, 2021 regular session meeting.
Second. Roll call?
Commissioner Kraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Vonderhaar?
Yes. We'll move on to financial considerations. We'll note receipt of an amended certificate, Coronavirus Relief Fund, $204.73.
Move to note receipt of the amended certificate.
Second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Vonderhaar?
Yes. Next, we'll consider approval of resolution 4521-194, moral obligation, various departments.
Move to note receipt of resolution 4521-194.
Second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Vonderhaar?
Yes. Consider approval of resolution 4621-194, authorize use of a county credit card for victim witness.
Move to consider approval of resolution 4621-194.
Second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Vonderhaar?
Yes. Consider approval of resolution 4721-194, authorizing the expenditure of $7,684.76, emergency repairs on the Freightliner dump truck unit number 3 for the engineer.
Move to note receipt of, move to consider approval of resolution 4721-194.
Second. Any discussion?
Just say it sucked when that happens.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Vonderhaar?
Yes. Consider approval of resolution 4821-194, authorizing the hire of outside legal counsel for REA.
Move to consider approval of resolution 4821-194.
Second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Vonderhaar?
Yes. Consider approval of resolution 4921-194, supplemental appropriation, coronavirus relief fund, $2,900,003.11.
Move to consider approval of resolution 49-21-194.
Second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderhaar,
Yes. Consider approval of resolution 50-21-194, transfer of funds, various departments.
Move to consider approval of resolution 50-21-194.
I'll second. And that's from building maintenance, fund 001-25, line contract services, 113200, a debit of $520. To building maintenance 001-025, line salaries, 101002, a credit of $520. From unclaimed money 062-076, line transfers out, 109110, a debit of $5,501.18. To general fund 001-008, line transfers receipts 022410, a credit of $5,501.18. Call the roll, please.
Oh, I do wanna make a note on the one for, building maintenance of why that one is. It was found in the new year when we were doing the new, pay rates for Tony Vogel, that last year the BSNA system did not catch his raise. So the need for that was to basically cut him another check to make the compensation correct what he was supposed to get.
Glad we caught it.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderhaar,
Yes. Consider approval of resolution 51-21-194, authorizing expenditure of $76,703.60 for the purchase of 2 Chevrolet Tahoe Cruisers for the sheriff.
Move to consider approval of resolution 51-21-194.
Second. Any discussion?
This is the included $3,600 that's additional, that was needed.
What this is actually, this is what he gets budgeted for every year. He does get 2 cars every year, and they rotate those out, just to keep his fleet up to date. So this is the 2 cars that we will be doing, a transfer. His cars usually are kept into a separate fund, and then as he needs it, then we need to transfer that out. So probably in the next one, he'll get a transfer for the total amount of the cars that he's asking for.
Okay, so, but he said that there's an additional,
There is an additional
there's,
increase,
$3,600 for 2.
for 2,
Yeah.
yeah. So that won't be an issue, we'll just transfer him an additional amount. That usually happens, well, it's a usually, but it is a good thing. When he gets the quotes back in November, October, things can change. So we'll just send him appropriations for that.
Okay, at that time?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah,
This-
we're actually.
This is fine.
This is typically something that he does later, in January, 1st of February, but he is trying to get those in because Chevrolet is trying to, they're getting backed up, so we are making a quick move so that at least he can get in line. So then this office then will still be able to send him the transfer of appropriations to him at a later time. He still has that in the budget to make this happen.
Okay, sounds great.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderhaar,
Yes. We'll move on to correspondence and reports. We're gonna note receipt of a letter from the sanitary engineer regarding 2021 payroll rates for recycling.
Move note receipt of a letter from the sanitary engineer.
I'll second. And it looks like, to Levon from engineer Kyle Cross, January 11th, 2021. Fiscal year 21 wage rate adjustment, solid waste budget. Employee is Beth Wright, and the hourly wage salary of 2020 was $17.54 an hour. 2021 hourly wage salary will be $18.07. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderhaar.
Yes. Next, we'll note receipt of resolution number 2021 from the Preble County Budget Commission waiving the 2021 tax budget process.
Move to note receipt of resolution 2021 from the Preble County Budget Commission.
Second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Vonderhaar,
Yes. Note receipt of a letter from the sheriff. Contracted wage rate increase for Caitlin Holcomb, Jacob Sparks, Miranda Moses, Caitlin Bulak, Devin Smith, and Terry Stalzer for the sheriff.
I think we missed, but it's
Strasser.
Strasser.
Strasser, okay.
Move to note receipt of a letter from the sheriff.
I'll second. Any discussion? So our letter is dated January 9th, 2021 to Doreen Pratt from Sheriff Michael Simpson. Employee January raise. Effective January 9th, 2021, the following employees will receive a pay increase per their labor contract. Dispatcher Caitlin Holcomb, old rate of $17.84, new rate $18.48. Dispatcher Jacob Sparks, old rate $17.19, new rate $17.84. Corrections Miranda Moses, old rate $17.19, new rate $17.84. Corrections Caitlin Bulak, old rate $17.19, new rate $17.84. Deputy Sheriff Devin Smith, old rate $24.16, new rate $25.15. Deputy Sheriff Terry Strasser, old rate $23.25, new rate $24.16. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Vonderhaar,
Yes. Note receipt of a report from JFS. CSEA Depository Account Bank Reconciliation for December 2020.
Move to note receipt of a report from JFS.
Second. And with that, we have the letter here to the Preble County Commissioners from Shannon Webb, Administrative Assistant, dated January 11th, 2021. State regulations require CSEA furnish to the Commissioners a report each month on the bank reconciliation that is completed for the depository account. Below is the summary for the month, and the summary ending balance is $1,218.25. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Vonderhaar,
Yes. Moving on to bid recommendation and award. Will note receipt of a bid recommendation and further consideration awarding the bid as recommended by the Preble County Engineer regarding 2021 resurfacing project.
Move to note receipt of a bid recommendation and further consider awarding a bid as recommended by the Preble County Engineer.
Second. Our letter here is January 12th, 2021, to the Board of Commission from the engineer. And dear Board, after a thorough review of bids received for the 2021 resurfacing project, I recommend that the bid be awarded to Barrett Paving Materials, Inc., 3751 Commerce Drive, Franklin, Ohio, 45005. The total bid price is $1,642,969.40. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Vonderhaar,
Yes. Move on to agreements and contracts. Will note receipt of and consider approval by signing an agreement with Data Maintenance Services with DDTI, $12,000 for the wireless 911.
Move to note receipt of and consider approval by signing an agreement.
Second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Vonderhaar,
Yes. Will note receipt of and consider approval by signing an agreement. Tire collection and removal agreement with Liberty Tire Recycling LLC, $31,692 for recycling.
Move to note receipt of and consider approval by signing an agreement.
Second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Vonderhaar,
Yes. Will note receipt of and consider approval by signing an agreement, maintenance agreement with Sound Communications, extended additional year, $7,657 for wireless 911.
Move to note receipt of and consider approval by signing agreement.
Second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonner.
Yes. We'll move on to travel. Consider the approval of the following requests. Looks like we just have one. Resolution 5221-194 for Samantha Massey for the commission.
Move to note receipt of, move to approve resolution 5221-194.
A second. And as far as discussion,
This is, something a little new for Sam's gonna be doing, this is going for her to go get her notary.
Great.
Lucky her, they've now made the notary more of an exam type thing where you actually have to go, to a class and spend 4 hours listening to it, where, in prior years, up until this year, you literally would just go to the clerk courts, you'd get the book, you'd study, you'd take a test, and you'd be done in a whole whopping day or two. So this is something a little new, but this would be her going, getting that notary. As of right now, I'm the only one in here who does have a notary, and with us doing contracts and stuff like that. Kind of pushing Sam and saying, hey, you're gonna go get your notary. That way we have at least an additional person if I'm gone for her to be able to notarize instruments as they come in.
Sounds great.
For her, 4 hours would be super fun.
Oh, yes. I do not envy her.
any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonner.
Yes.
Good luck, Sam.
She's very much looking forward. When she told me she had to do a 4-hour class, I said, oh, I'm so glad I missed that part.
And next we'll move on to approval of vouchers.
I move that we note receipt of, consider approval by signing the voucher report as submitted by the county auditor on Friday, January 15th, 2021.
I will, second, but.
What this is, since Monday is a holiday, you guys will not be here. So the vouchers, you guys will, review those on Friday, then you guys will sign those, and those will actually go into effect. So that way, when auditor's office comes in on Tuesday, we're not holding up the bills. So this is just a approval from you guys saying that you're gonna come in here, and sign those vouchers as you would as usually on Monday. You're just gonna do it on Fridays, that's why we put the January 15th. So January 15th, you guys get to come in and sign some vouchers.
Sounds like a plan. Any discussion?
No.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kraft,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonner.
Yes. So with that, we're cruising right along. So we have a meeting with EMA at 9:30. Do we wanna?
I'd say if he's here,
He's
let's
ready.
let him talk to us. How are you, Dave? You doing okay, bud?
Doing great so far.
Good.
Busy, but that's what it goes.
Yeah, you had a good new year?
So far,
Good. Any more trailers get stolen or anything?
thank God, no.
But I will say, after 9 months, you finally got your Spectrum contract done?
Yeah, well, I wasn't gonna bring that up.
Good old phone company.
Okay, want me to go ahead?
Go right ahead.
Okay, first on is what's going on. The EMA has been working very closely with the health department on the COVID-19 pandemic response. I've been participating in calls from the state EMA, GDAHA, which is the Greater Dayton Area Hospital Association, and ODH, which is the Ohio Department of Health. I'm also participating with the Preble County Public Health on their weekly calls, which have been kind of temporarily suspended. They've been on Tuesdays, and that's when they've done vaccine clinics. So if you have any questions or anything about that, you can get a hold of me or get a hold of either Susie or Eric over at the health department, and we can kind of give you an update on what's going on. The next in line is I've been assisting the health department with doing planning, setup, and operations of the vaccine clinic. We've had 4 of them so far, and they've been attended well. Everything has gone very, very smoothly, and that just kind of shows that if you have a little bit of planning ahead of time, that things work out great. I did find out today that we are going to be receiving 200 doses of the Pfizer vaccine so that we can start our 1B category, which will be starting next week from the 19th on. And I'm still working with the health department to set something up to get that out. And as soon as we get it taken care of, which should be either today or tomorrow to kind of finalize things, then we'll get information out to the Register Herald and put it on their social media, so people will be able to know. And I'm sure Eric will send an email out to everybody that's on the vaccine committee, as well as everybody that's been on the conference calls of what it is that's going on. Next in line is the new EMA vehicle. That has been a real process. Last year it was ordered in May, and that's when the pandemic really started kicking in. Everything got shut down, and I didn't actually receive the truck until November. And so I had a very short period of time to get lettering, the radio swapped out, and have emergency lights put on. Emergency lights got put on at the end of last week, so that completes everything. So now the truck is actually finished with everything that needs to be done to it, and it's doing great. So very pleased with it. Next in line is the LEPC. The first committee meeting of the year will be on the 21st of January. Typically, one of the commissioners sits on that board. I don't know if you guys have time to be able to do that. Right now, we're doing it virtually instead of actually holding the meeting at the EMA. And if one of you guys would be interested in at least dropping in on it, that would be great. That's one of the reasons why I put my card on the agenda that I've got, is I do not have contact information for either one of you. So if you could, would you mind emailing me your, and I'll get your email address then, and would you give me a cell number or another phone number that I can get a hold of you 24/7? And rest assured that I take all that information, and it is confidential information. I will not give it out to anybody. If somebody wants that information, I will get with you, and if you want to give it to them, that's fine, but I will not do that, you know, along with the rest of the officials within Preble County whose phone number I do have that I do need to get a hold of. Typically, if something should happen within the county, I'll get a hold of the president of the board, and then let that person take care of advising the rest of the board what is going on. And then that way you guys are in the know. So if you don't have any objections, that's the way I'd like to keep doing that. But if you want each one of you called individually, I can do that also.
I don't see a problem. Just call Rachel. As far as my number, anybody that asks for it, just give it to them.
It's the same for me.
Yeah.
Mine's you can find mine on the internet.
I'll send you an email with all their,
Adam's
just add their
bathroom
email address and
Walmart.
their contact.
That would be great, thank you.
So I'll just do it all in one.
Okay.
That's where Austin found it.
Ah.
You caught that too, didn't you?
Please continue.
Okay, do you have any questions or comments on what's going on?
No.
Nope. Okay, CERT. I'm also in charge of taking care of CERT, which is the Community Emergency Response Team. We have anywhere from 7 to 11 people. I have several that are snowbirds that like to go south, which I wish I could, but they go south during the winter and then they come back during the summer. But typically during the summer we've been a little busier. This year we haven't had much to do at all because of the pandemic. We did help the health department out with doing the testing that they had at the Eaton High School, and we also helped out DEI, the Downtown Eaton Incorporated, with the car show. So those are just some of the functions that we do to take and help out with. We're also available if law enforcement needs anything done, like if they have a parade or something like that going on, we typically help out with them. But since all that stuff has been canceled this year, then CERT really hasn't had much going on, but I've kept in touch with everybody, and they're ready to go in case something does happen and we need their help. So that's CERT. Any questions, comments? Nope. Okay. The last on the agenda is grants, and I turned in the paperwork and the request for cash for the 2018 or the FY20 EMPG, which is the Emergency Management Performance Grant. That is a grant that I get every year from the state to help fund the EMA and the functions that it does. I turned it in for the first through fourth quarter. Usually that number isn't nearly as large, but last year we had a couple of large expenditures. We put in new furnaces and air conditioning system up at the office, because the one that was up there was getting to the point where you couldn't find parts, or you had to use used parts. And there was some other things that needed to be done within that, so they deemed it best to go ahead and just replace it. And it had been up at the office for 20 years. So it had been there quite some time and it needed to be done. And the other part was I needed to get a new server for the office, because Microsoft quit supporting the operating system, which gave a lot of security issues with that. So those were put in, that was also put in under EMPG. And so I had to hold over until the next grant cycle to be able to get reimbursement for that. And I'll continue to do that and make sure that I get all the reimbursement that I possibly can from the state for the expenses that we have up there. The next is working on fifth quarter FY20 EMPG reimbursement. They do it every quarter, and unfortunately I don't know why they call them quarters, because there are 7 quarters in the year. So that's one of the things that I'm working on, and it needs to be done by the end of this month. So I've been on it.
Very good.
So is there anything as far as grants? Questions, comments?
No, I did want to circle back to the COVID-19, the vaccination, the clinics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys, do you need any additional help from us? Any, additional equipment, anything that you might need to make that process a little bit better? I mean, for the health department and your office?
At this time, no, but that's not to say later on, because we're working with very small groups. The 1A group, which was the EMTs and healthcare professionals, that is compared to everybody in the county getting a vaccine, that is a very small group. And so everything's been working well with it and haven't had any problems. Now we're moving into a group that has got a lot more people in it, which as the state mandates is going to be from 65 and up, are the next group of people in the 1B category that get the vaccine. And so there's going to be a whole lot more people there. And so we haven't actually run into any problems yet, but we haven't gotten to that point, which will be next week. So we may find out next week that we do need help. Susie's been very fortunate about having people step up and joining the MRC, which is the Medical Reserve Corps. And that's where doctors, nurses, and EMTs can help out the health department by giving shots and taking care of any medical questions that need to be answered. She's been very lucky. She hasn't had a problem so far being able to get people to help out with doing the vaccinations. So at this time, we've got everything covered, but that's not to say things won't change and we may have to come back and ask for help.
Just let us know as soon as possible if you need any additional, equipment, anything that you need from us to try to make this easier. To
Okay.
get vaccines out, okay, I wanna get that out as quick as we can.
Yep.
For our local residents, okay?
Absolutely, that's not a problem at all.
How will collaboration with, let's say, voters or constituents, if they're going across the border into Indiana to get their vaccination, what type of collaboration is taking place in reporting the percent of population that is then vaccinated?
Actually, I don't believe there is any.
Okay.
But the thing is when you do get your vaccination, you get a card. And on that card, it says when you got it and what type of vaccine that you got, whether right now the Moderna and the Pfizer are the two that are being put out right now. Preble County's only had the Moderna, and if my information is correct, we should be getting doses of Pfizer coming in the next time around. And so those cards are going to be what's going to help out knowing where you got it and who you got it from. Typically, you'll go back to the same people for your second dose that you did. I'm not sure about whether the health department has the database set up to where they actually send out reminders. I haven't gotten that deep into it. So that would be a question for the health department to have answered. But I do know that you can go, typically where you work will be good enough to where you can go to get the vaccine done. So if we have people in Preble County that work over in Indiana, I know they are a week or two ahead of us, and they're already into their 1B category. And so those people are already getting vaccines over there that we haven't been able to do over here yet, and it's due to the government, or the governor's mandate. He's telling us how this is all gonna roll out, and what to do and who to give the shots to. So,
Seems to be a unique situation for the county is located, you know, on the border of the state.
Right.
And we have so many people that cross for so many things. Just kind of looking at, does that need to be a conversation about the collaboration crossing the state line?
I will find out for you whether that's actually being done. I'm not positive, but I don't believe there is, just because they're separated. I know as far as the counting of people that have gotten COVID and people that are testing positive, there is collaboration that goes back and forth. The health department works with Reed. But, you know, we also have Union County to the south that also does that, and I'm not sure whether there's any collaborations being done through them. Because typically they are more of a Butler County type because of College Corner, because College Corner is very unique in the way it's set up, and so they have some to do with us, but they have more to do with Butler County and with Union County and those people over there instead of with Preble. So, but I will find out for you if there is any collaboration, and when I get emails, I'll send you an answer.
Thank you.
Good deal. Does the health department have adequate refrigerated storage for the Pfizer vaccine and everything else? I know that needs to be kept at a certain temperature. I've been kind of watching that a little bit.
Yes and no. They don't actually in-house have that, but they have found that there is a tissue company that stores tissue that has those super cold refrigerators that our vaccine can be stored in. The other thing to do would be to get dry ice. And there is a dry ice manufacturer up in Greenville. It's called Continental Carbonics. And I have been in touch with them, and we can get dry ice from them if needed.
Okay.
So that's something that we just found out about actually last night, that we were gonna get the Pfizer vaccine, and I'm sure that I'm gonna need to get with the health department and find out what it is that they're gonna do as far as storing the vaccine, and if I need to get with the Greenville company to actually get dry ice to store it if the tissue bank can't.
Can you kind of see what, if they would want to look at putting a unit down there that would remain the right temperature to store that right on site?
Those things, the way I understand them, are really expensive. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars to get it. And to be honest with you, they've never really had any kind of a reason to get something like that until now.
Okay.
So this would be a one-shot deal, more than likely, and I didn't know whether you guys want to spend that kind of money, but that would be a conversation you need to have with the health department.
Okay.
Because I know they do have refrigerators there, they can freeze vaccine. They haven't had any problem with the Moderna vaccine.
Well, they did just put a new refrigerator in, we used CARES money to put in an AC unit, to keep that room cooler, to the additional refrigeration system that went in. It was causing everything to overheat in there, so you know they have another, and they did get another refrigerator for that vaccine itself. And we did use CARES money to make that room at the right temperature that it needed to be.
Okay. All right.
But it wasn't a super cold refrigerator, right? Okay.
I don't know what they put in. I just know that the health department had another refrigerator coming for the vaccine, but that refrigerator was causing the room to overheat, so that we had used CARES money to put another AC unit in, to keep that room at the required temperature that it needed. What the refrigerator type was, I don't know. I just know they got one for the vaccine.
Okay. Sounds great. Sounds great.
Okay. Anything else?
I think I'm good.
Nope, okay, great. Thanks very much. You guys have a great day.
Thank you
too.
so much. So it looks like we have a little break till our landfill update. Do you have anything additional you want to discuss now, or?
I do, actually. So as far as our CARES Act dollars, we have a little bit of a carryover. I've kind of looked at that a little bit here. I reached out on Monday to CCAO, and then I also reached out to the Richmond County Board of Commissioners, and they approved a COVID cruiser. And this cruiser, in looking into it, it's kind of capable of killing the virus. It's got different equipment in there that kills the virus. So I am currently looking at that. I'm hoping that we can move on this. I've got it turned over to the sheriff and everything else. From what I see, it looks like it is exactly, and talking with the sheriff, it looks like it's exactly how our current cruisers are. So it's actually gonna be kind of a two bird, one stone type of scenario. We can buy this cruiser using CARES dollars, and then also we can, it's a fully functional cruiser for us to use on down the road. So it's a way that we could maybe get a cruiser purchased with the remaining CARES Act funding. I talked with Richland County Commissioner and the sheriff up there at Richland County, and they've got a kind of what they did on that, and I wanted to give that to you. Kind of what they did on that. It's nothing that has to be done, but we do kind of need to get moving on it if we want to get it ordered. I'm understanding. So that's the one additional thing that I have right now. So it's just something for you to look at, and we can talk about it here as we go forward. But that, as far as I know, the auditor of state has already been, he's okay with these purchases, Keith. And we're waiting on a opinion from the budget commission to see if we can't do that. So,
Well, OBM.
OBM,
OPM.
sorry.
And so with that, you said the auditor of state was good with it?
Yeah, the only caution that the auditor of state gave is that you cannot spend, let's say, quadruple the amount.
You wanna stay within a reasonable, if you can show a quote like we would, we could show a quote, as long as we stay within that quote area, you would be good. They don't want someone outfitting the car with a whole bunch of stuff that technically wouldn't be
Per,
outside of reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a better word to use, maybe reasonable.
reasonable, yes.
So did he put something in writing? The auditors?
I haven't gotten anything from him.
That's, one reason why I sent something to OBM, so that we could get something back a little bit more, definite on that being allowable, so that's.
Okay.
But I think it's gonna be, good. If we can do it, I think it would be good for our sheriff. We've got the need for purchasing a third car this year that would kind of alleviate us,
Mm-hmm.
but, that's just something I wanted to throw out there, see if it sticks.
You said it was called a COVID cruiser
It's called a COVID cruiser.
with a spray Lysol as you drive down the road?
I
Well,
guess
what it does is it's got a feature on it that when you hit it, it actually heats the inside of the car to desert-like temperatures, so the heat is supposed to kill the COVID or any of that viruses or anything that's in the car. And it does, I forget if it's had like a duration, but that's basically was the intent, was that there's a feature on it that would allow the car, inside of the car, to be heated up to a certain temperature to kill any type of bacteria or virus on it.
So probably the coroner would be a candidate for a vehicle like that too, wouldn't it?
I could see that being a potential, a potential advantage for him as well. We're looking into it, we're early on right now. I did read somewhere, on this thing that some of them are equipped with ultraviolet lights as well, that they come on a timer, so.
The ultraviolet light makes sense to me. I'm just curious what the extreme heat does to the technology inside the car.
That I'm not sure. This is something that, I think we bring new into it, it'd be something that the sheriff would really need to look at. And it's been down his side of what he would, if it's something he would like. I did go ahead and send it to OBM, that way if we choose to, do that, we do have that backup from them saying that, this is an allowable thing. But it would be, I'm assuming if other departments or other counties are using this, stuff like that's already been tested out. But that would be something that we can always let the sheriff know to keep in mind, or to see if he could research that a little bit more, to see if there has been any, issues with that.
I mean, technology's so sensitive as far as making sure it doesn't overheat. I just find it interesting. I'm
Yeah,
curious.
it does make it sound interesting, but at the same time, you kinda wonder, like, you would think that they would test all that out prior, especially since they are purposely making this car for that aspect. But it is a good point, we can definitely make sure the sheriff looks into that and make sure that there isn't gonna be any issues if that heating element would ruin the technology.
Interesting concept, and, be interested to know how long it's been available.
I know from what I've found so far, I know Lima or Allen County purchased it back in October.
But the model itself, do you know how long it's been on the market?
That I don't know. I just know that in doing some research, Allen County did, make a publication about it, back in October of 2020. They had purchased it, so it might be one of those places we can always reach out to them, talk to their sheriff's department, see how they feel about that, and they might be able to touch a little bit on that technology aspect of it.
Well, I've been curious during, this time period of COVID, if someone is positive and needs to go to the hospital or the doctor, depending upon what level they are, but doesn't have family that can transport them, or it's a hazard for their family to transport them, what exactly is taking place in the county for those individuals?
Most of the time you would call 911 or, like, private ambulance companies, but I know those have been utilized a lot, for that transportation.
In a lot of our villages, with their money that they got allocated, they've gotten portable, all-quiet light
Right.
systems. And they've installed inside the ambulances and stuff like that. That's how they kinda,
And a lot of them have used that carries money to purchase those ultraviolets.
yeah.
They're in the very beginning, for their units, do that. Or Nebula blasters.
Yeah, and I know West Ellick has, I think West Ellick has 3 or 4.
Very interesting.
Yes, you can keep it,
Okay.
I've got it all,
You got it.
yeah.
Do we have anything additional?
I don't know.
I mean, not unless you have, anything that you're gonna talk about, and maybe you said you're gonna talk about meetings.
It's true. We have had, I've had some, thought related to the way I've seen Montgomery County perform and some other counties where they go to a once-a-week business meeting for approvals. But then they have work sessions, on the other days. So I didn't know if that would be something, for us, to think about going forward, to have the business meeting like what we're doing now, set for maybe Mondays, and then use maybe Wednesday, Friday as work session day, where then we encourage, bigger conversations to take place that aren't decision-making, but, it gives us the opportunity to look at more content and have that time to work on, and have bigger discussions with groups of people.
Okay, have you talked to the auditor or anybody on that?
I did reach out yesterday, and she is interested because she sees the communication, it would create more opportunity for communication with the commission. And several of the other departments have had kind of that same thought. I haven't made it to all departments. But it would be an open door policy that we could come in and have some discussions before it gets put before us for decision making.
Okay. Well, I know that I have been following the commissions pretty closely since about 2004. And I've worked with pretty much every single commissioner that's been here, and there's a bunch of reasons as to why they have two voting meetings, you know, to sign vouchers and things like that. So at this time, I think that, what is this, our 5th meeting in, I think?
Not asking for anything today.
Yeah,
just
I think
discussion.
at this time, I would wanna table that at a minimum until the 3rd commissioner gets here. And then maybe even, you know, 6 or 8 months, we keep going
Just
and
discussion.
move on and.
The auditor would like a visit over to Clark County, to take a look at their processes.
Mhm.
And at the same time, our processes haven't really been, updated in a while, and so this would give us a good opportunity to review. So nothing's been updated since we've gone with the new accounting system. And this is a great opportunity to have some big discussions and update what we have in our handbooks.
Yeah, I would be willing to do that, I just would like to wait, you know, 6, 8 months
Oh, yeah.
down the road and figure out, you know, just, right now, we're still trying to figure out where the offices are, so, you know.
There's a lot of content to be grabbed to bring back, to have those types of discussions.
Yeah.
And so, there's gonna need to be some work days, and there's gonna be some review of policy and procedure handbooks, and how we move forward from here for getting our information up to date to what we're functioning with.
Sounds good.
Looks like, Kyle Cross, our engineer, has joined us.
All right. Hi, Kyle, how are you, buddy?
Good, how you guys doing?
Good.
We're moving right along this morning, so if you're ready, we could go ahead and move you up to the front of the room.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Well, first, welcome. This is our first meeting together with this, so what I'm gonna do is stick with the format that had been used prior. If there's anything differently that you guys would wanna see from this, just let me know and we can tweak or accommodate as need be, but we'll start out with the solid waste district. The annual contracts are being reviewed and approved. Rumpke was approved Monday. Liberty Tire today, and we're still working out some details with the recycling center regarding the metal dumpster at the landfill. Our Christmas light recycling program ends February 1st. We still have the collection point in the lobby here and at the landfill, and to date, there's been about 300 pounds of Christmas lights collected to be recycled. The public recycling seems to be running smooth. There has been some cleanups and overflows that we've experienced so far this year, but that's not out of the ordinary with people trying to get rid of boxes from Christmas. One of the big things right now with Beth is that one of the components of her position was the education part of things. And with the schools moving primarily to a virtual curriculum or limited access to outside speakers and guests, a lot of her information is kind of being retooled that can be put into a video format that can be shown at the school as opposed to her being there with the interaction with the students. The quarterly fee for the fourth quarter of 2020 is due to the Ohio EPA, February 15th, and basically that is just a reporting tool. It's required from the solid waste district that just shows the income and expenditures for the quarter, and it's basically just pulling information from the BSA software to submit to them that it's staying on track with the programming and financial goals that have been set up in the solid waste plan. Moving on to the sewer districts, sewer district 2 and 3, no operational issues. The high tide monitoring system that was being installed through the CARES Act is completed at sewer district 3 for the lift station and the plant, and it's operational. The high tide should be operational at sewer district 2 this week yet. One thing to point out on sewer district 3, and would like some input from you as far as how to proceed with that. Last December, to back up, in October, the school district had indicated that they wanted to get rid of the sewer bill for the elementary school in West Elton. What we had relayed to them was that protocol was, if it is connected to the system, it's being billed, because we don't have the ability to police what happens in the building. With that being set up as a standalone sewer district, opposed to where you would have the water and sewer, that your sewer usage is in direct correlation with the water usage. They were set up as equivalent dwelling units is how it was billed, and with that assumption, it was each residential home was one unit, and anything that varied from that was determined a value based on capacity, and it was a prorated billing. They wanted to get rid of it. We explained to them that to get rid of the billing, they had to disconnect from the system. At that point in time, they were very adamant that that building was, the water was disconnected, they were gonna have the sewer disconnected within a week, and the building would be demolished in January. We never heard anything. We reached back out to them, and they didn't really give any definitive timetable on when that would be disconnected. And what was relayed to Jeff was that the superintendent would be reaching out to me. And instead of being reached out by the superintendent, I was contacted by a lawyer for the school district from Bricker and Eckler. They made a sizable public records request regarding billing history, contracts that would have been in place, or agreements between the village at the time or the county with their usage of it. And those documents were submitted to them back about a month ago to the date, to be honest, and we never heard. We received a check on Monday for their December bill in the amount of $69.15. That is the residential sewer rate in West Elkton. The bill that was submitted to them was $2,351.10. I have some ideas onto why that happened, but would like direction from you as far as how do you want me to proceed with that? Do you want me to contact the district, their attorney, by phone, letter? I'm just looking for a little guidance on that.
I would like to have a conversation with our office next door, the prosecutor's office, since they have representation, and have just a general discussion about the situation.
How can we work with them? In your mind, Kyle, how can we help them? I mean, they're a good part of our community, and I wanna, you know.
Well, I mean, we gave them a clear path on how to remove this billing. And what that is going to do is that in each of these sewer districts, both 2 and 3, that's pretty much what we collect in fees from the users, is to offset or to cover the expense of any outstanding bonding or loans we have for the plant itself and the day-to-day operation. So what that does is, you know, when you take $2,300 a month out of that equation, we're looking at, you know, close to 30 grand a year that we're gonna have to make up in revenue just to keep that operational and to be able to meet our repayment schedule for the bonding, involved with that. We reached back out to the, OWDA, which was who we had secured the funding for the project through. And there's no negotiating on the terms of repayment. If we could have extended this loan by another 2 years that we have outstanding, we could have kept everything status quo, but those are backed by municipal bonds, which their investors are expecting a return on a set time frame. So with that said, the only option to offset that is to adjust the rates where that cost would be distributed among the other users. And what that equates to is between $15 and $20 per person per month. So to try to reach out to the school, we tried to work with them, and their immediate step was to go to legal representation. I'm in agreement with you, Rachel, that we probably need to let attorneys speak.
Just to, kind of give us an overall direction and opinion of direction, but definitely to be pulled in on the conversation and, see what courses are available.
Okay.
Sounds like we don't have a choice.
Well,
Well, they're here for that purpose, and,
Right.
It's best that we utilize the team that we have.
yeah, and I mean, everybody has, you know, their justification, so I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but, you know, as long as that building is connected, those rates were based on available capacity. I mean, if they have a janitor down there, that's one thing. We don't have the ability to police what, you know, extracurricular, or if they would be renting that facility out for, you know, whatever type of activities, without having any control over the flow out of it. It's still gonna be based on the potential capacity of the building.
So would you like to make the contact with the prosecutor's office, or okay,
Yeah, I can do that.
are you good with that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, at this point, we really don't have a choice, is what you're saying.
Well, I think we still have a choice, but I think that the path that we could have went to get to a resolution probably could have been, yeah, a little less lawyery.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Sewer District 6, the collection system, the plans and specifications are close to being completed and to be submitted to the EPA. The treatment plant is lagging behind a little bit due to the soil borings. There was a delay in that, so they're still looking to, they've got that information to make some final structural calculations for adjustment. Once they get that, the 90% plans will be submitted for review, and what their current focus is to also get the easements for the lift stations, grinder pumps, and outflow, and hopefully they're anticipating making progress on that in the month of January.
So, could you just kind of give an overall summary of this project? To me, we've got a camera present, and it's a hot topic in the community, but, where do you see this?
Basically, this has been under findings and orders from the EPA. There was consent paperwork, that was submitted and approved by both parties the end of last year. And, as far as the content of that, I'm not the one to be speaking on what was in those consent orders. My role in this has been technical, as far as my direction was to get the plans and specifications completed so that we could go to the next step, which was either the installation of the system, or if once we have that information and it's bid and can be demonstrated that it's not affordable, then that would be a whole different set of conversations to have with either the EPA or the Attorney General's office. So with that said, my role, being technical in this, has been to get the plans and specifications put together that is going to remedy what issues have been out there as far as outflow issues due to the sampling that determined the sewage that was picked up in Twin Creek or Vannis Fork and other locations that were sampled. So that's what my task has been.
Thank you.
How close are we to getting a completed estimate and everything?
The estimates are ongoing, with each of the stages, and as we get closer to the end in each of those, that estimate becomes more refined and a little bit more accurate. So at this point, there's still a lot of variables to determine or figure out. So the cost estimate is very high as of today, but anticipating it to come down. But it's still, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to get it back to the original estimate that was in the contract with CDM Smith, just due to the inflation of construction, and also they have encountered some additional issues in the field that weren't anticipated on that cost estimate that was put together with the feasibility study.
Okay. So you think we're looking at 6 months from now to have it complete, the estimate complete?
Yeah. All of the documents, this is set to be through all of the permitting, the design, and the bidding, by I believe it's mid-June. So.
Mid-June, big bid out date.
Yeah.
Okay.
So within the next 6 months, we'll have a definitive answer on what the actual cost would be on this.
Okay.
But, one of the things the starting point with this was a lot of very broad assumptions, and once we go through and each step of it, those broad assumptions are being refined to, initially the entire project was to be a gravity sewer, which due to the topography, it's not possible. So to show this as a gravity sewer, you're showing proposed depths that are not practical or cost effective. So we've taken that and added grinder pumps or lift stations at critical points to raise the line, which is going to, it's a cost savings. And at this point, it's refining to get this thing done to perform as it's supposed to, with the, there's no bells and whistles. It's a very, very basic plant that treats the sewage so that the outflow from it is not going to be in any type of levels that are not in compliance with EPA standards.
Good deal.
So, moving on to the landfill, there's several pages of just tonnage. Just a highlight of that for the month of December, we had 3,100 tons of waste, which put us at 41,807 tons for the year, which is the second highest year on record, other than 2007, and we were, 200 tons from that. Probably a big contributor to that was COVID back in March and April, when pretty much everything was shut down. We saw a huge uptick in residential waste coming in by individuals, not necessarily the the Rumpke's that are hauling from the curbside pickup, cleaning out barns, garages, what have you, just to pass the time. Leachate, we had 354,000 gallons in the month of December, for a total of 3.7 million for the year, which was about 175,000 gallon less than for the previous year. Now to the operational side of things, back in December, right after Christmas, we started placing waste in 2C, which is the new cell. We've almost completely transitioned to that. We are getting the 5-foot protective layer in to where we can start transitioning the C&D material, construction and demolition in there as well. Because that first 5 foot, we have the actual liner of the landfill that collects or catches any type of constituents that could affect groundwater. That's collected, that's how our leachate is generated. So on top of that liner, there's 1 foot of sand, and the next 5 foot of material has to be called select waste, which is basically household or what was hauled in from curbside pickup to kind of give an extra buffer so that when the C&D material comes in, that there's enough of a distance in there that it would eliminate any type of boards, rebar, anything sharp that could penetrate and damage that liner. So we are moving forward with that. The CAT D5 dozer was taken to CAT earlier this week. We're anticipating probably a sizable bill on that. Back right after the first of the year, there was no hydraulic pressure. It basically stopped, and CAT was out. They did the field diagnostics. There was no hydraulic pressure into the filters, which basically that machine has the hydrostatics, the hydraulics, everything is through one hydraulic pump, and everything at this point is indicating that the drive shaft to the pump has either came off or broken. The problem with that in pretty much all equipment vehicles is the design of it is efficient for space. Unfortunately, to get to that part, the entire engine has to be pulled from the machine to get to the hydraulic pump to find out if that is the problem and to repair it. So anticipating that coming through probably in the next couple weeks with what the cost for the repairs on that's going to be. One of the things that started to mention last year was that we were having some disruption in service with our yard waste dumpster. One of the things that had been put together about 5 years ago was a composting plan or a permit to do at the landfill. That had kind of been put on a back burner, but due to you can't put the yard waste into the landfill, and as a service to the residents, kind of my direction from the previous board was to look into moving forward with this composting permit. The last 2 pages of the handout that I gave you is kind of a general overview of what that would look like. It's going to be back just to the east of the leachate storage tanks. It's approximately 1 acre, and that's based on the assumption of 67 yards of yard waste per month, which is it's sized appropriately. Working with T&M on this, we're trying to get some things updated on this plan because this plan is 5 years old, and some of these drawings are based on stuff that didn't happen down there, and to submit a permit to the EPA. The cost of that permit is not going to exceed $400, and a majority of this work will be able to be performed by landfill staff with materials on site. Total cost of this, we're looking at roughly, $30,000. It is going to, and what that's gonna require is some of the piping for the leachate, because by this being a waste facility, once again, the water that touches it's gonna be classified as leachate, so the biggest portion is going to be for the piping to get that from that facility to the lift station to get it into the leachate system, and the electrical work with it. To go a step further with that, I mentioned a piece of equipment that I went and looked at last year. It was, it's called an Impactor 250. It was kind of an accident, we stumbled upon it. We purchased a chipper at the engineer's office, right around Halloween, Thanksgiving, that time frame it came in. And the individual that brought it down said, oh, you need to look at this, because what it does, it's a machine that has two functions. It can operate as a crusher for the hard fill, that we can turn concrete into usable either gravel, stone, which currently we contract that out. I believe it was $40,000 we spent on that last year. But also it has they call them shafts, but it's two functions. There's a different set. One is for the concrete and one is would be utilized with the yard waste and tires. That would potentially completely eliminate two of our contracts, one being Liberty Tire, because tires cannot be landfilled because of the shape of them, that they will tend to float and pull themselves back to the surface. That's why that's prohibited, but shredded tires are not. At that point, once these tires would be shredded, they could be placed into the landfill. They could be used as protective, or in place of stone in some applications for pipe bedding, or even roads. The other thing that we would use it heavily for would be to integrate into this composting facility. Because of the way the permitting is written, nothing can be accepted into that's larger than 4 inches in diameter or 6 foot in length. This machine, as I forwarded some information and videos for you guys to take a look at, will basically chew, if you can get it in the hopper, it can chew it up. So that would allow us to take larger pieces of material into that composting facility, because it would actually be in a smaller, like a really coarse cut mulch is what this machine would do to it. So it would be logs, stumps, things of that nature that wouldn't apply, but we could take the revenue from accepting into the composting facility.
Okay. So we're just, so this Liberty Tire, that $31,692, that contract, we would essentially be able to negate that completely?
Yes, and one of the Liberty Tire contract, the way that is set up is that there is a box trailer, a 53-foot semi that's at the landfill. All the tires that come through there, we have to log, submit that to the EPA, but they basically get stacked in that trailer. Once that trailer gets full, they take it to their facility in Columbus, and it's my understanding that what happens with those tires at that point is that they are shredded and sold as a commodity on the open market. So that would give us another looking into with Liberty Tire and Rumpke to reach out to them to find out, you know, because nobody wants these tires. There's a lot of, you know, handling that goes into them. But if we have this machine that can shred them into pieces that's no bigger than, you know, a face mask, an iPad, something like that, to find out, you know, can we sell this on the open market and use that as another revenue source as well.
Sounds great.
So that's, kind of all of that goes back to this piece of equipment. It is on the Sourcewell contract, which is a national purchasing program. It's in line with what the state purchase for Ohio is. It's national. It is a lot more diverse as far as stuff that is hard to classify as what it does when there's essentially no other apples to compare them to. So I do have a quote. The cost of that piece of equipment is $279,000 over the course of approximately 6 years. We will be able to recoup the cost of that on the tire side of things and the yard waste, but we could, further reduce that repayment schedule down depending on how aggressive we would want to get into with crushing concrete that's taken into the landfill as well.
What kind of a maintenance schedule is it if you go to crushing concrete? How often are you rebuilding the jaws and everything else that go into it?
The first run through is typically what they're saying is going to be the break-in. It's about 100 hours into it. The carbide teeth on the jaws would need to be re-hardened through welding, and it basically is to add, they look like little nubs, so those need to get additional material just welded onto them to harden those. The yard waste and tire side, it's a completely different configuration as far as the shafts go on it. The ends of the tips of those would need to be cut off if they're neglected for too long and welded back on, or they can be touched up with welding. That is about a 400-hour schedule for use on that. So based on the hours, what we're looking at, we may have to do maintenance on the shafts every 1 to 2 years, and it's going to be a function of how aggressively we get into using the machine.
And do we have any idea on what that regularly scheduled maintenance, that 400-hour and 100-hour, do we have any idea on what that costs?
From talking to the main, there's actually another individual in the county that has this machine up on 40. There's a gentleman that he has, and this is just going off of, it's not, but it's actually the manufacturer that's given me this information. It's about $3,000 to have both sets of those shafts.
And then we would be doing that once annually?
Not necessarily. It would depend on, the hours used.
Okay.
I think once annually would be a good number to use for that. But once you get past the break-in period with it and that first set, he's saying that we're looking at maybe double that. So we could be pushing out as far as 200 hours on the concrete and 800 hours on the yard waste side of it. So it's going to be dependent a lot on how it's used, how much attention is paid to it. If you're throwing chunks of, a bridge abutment the size of this table in there versus pieces of sidewalk that are smaller, it does separate the rebar out of the concrete, so that that's another issue with the rebar going through it, how much damage it can do to the belt. So I wish I could give you a definitive answer that at this many hours we have to do this to it, but there's a lot of variables, and ultimately most of those variables go back on the procedures and how it's being operated.
And are we gonna be able to use our existing like payloaders and stuff to feed the machine, or are we gonna looking at purchasing accessory items to kind of keep this thing rolling? Or
As of right now, the equipment we have on site is gonna be sufficient.
Okay.
The excavator will be able to handle, the concrete side of it. The 963, which is the track loader, will be able to handle, the yard waste. And there's gonna be kind of some commingling of equipment regardless, because the yard waste is actually gonna be more of a function of solid waste by it being a recycling function. And the same with this piece of equipment, that it would actually looking at purchasing it through the solid waste district as opposed to the landfill itself, because it does reduce some of the contracts that they would have annually.
Okay.
So the $3,000 for the teeth, does that include installation or is that just material and you would install in-house?
That's for the labor.
That's for labor.
Yeah, the concrete, there's really no parts, it's just a matter of keeping weld on it to keep the steel built up. The tips on the yard waste side, it is about $2,000, but it's one of those things that you don't have to do that unless it gets neglected and you don't stay up on the regular maintenance with those.
Okay.
Would you be able to put together, kind of like, if purchased, these are the contracts that we would no longer be putting out because we could do this in-house and do a nice, pretty little spreadsheet to make it clean?
Yes.
And then just, I would say, add to that what we're gonna incur annually for maintenance of the thing, so we have kind of a full overview of,
Yes.
I think so, you know, what we're gonna incur maintenance wise, that way we can kind of show what our savings is gonna be over 5 years, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, with just the, the sticker price, what we're looking at on just the tire and the yard waste contracts, we're looking at about 6 to 7 years as kind of a break-even point, and then we could, generate revenue off of it. But, we can make some assumptions on how much concrete we could be crushing through this thing as well.
And, on the mulch, will it be of a quality that is something that the community would be interested in as a product, or you have a use for the mulch?
Without doing this yet, I don't know that it's going to be, I wouldn't have a resale component factored into it at this point. It is something that we are able to use as a soil enhancer at the landfill, which would basically be blended with topsoil. It can also be used in the working phase when we do accept sludge to kind of mix with that to give it more of a solid consistency. So there's actually use for it within the landfill that we could use pretty much all of what's going to be generated as it sits now. Depending on the success of this, one thing that is nice with the location and the design of this is it's very scalable. So if we get into it and see that we're taking more than what this is sized for, really we're looking at additional dirt work and extending it to the east to get additional capacity. And at that point, then we could maybe look at, where's our breaking point on how much we're actually using on the landfill itself versus what excess is there. Is it enough that it can be sold to the public? Is it possibly enough to be utilized by the maintenance department here for landscaping at various county buildings? It's just, we're not certain on how far that's going to break down and compose.
Will it be replacing a product that you're already using for that blend?
Not so much with the sludge, because it's kind of just gets mixed with the trash, and hopefully there's enough trash coming in at the time of those that it can be kind of absorbed into it. But as far as the soil enhancement, it's more with, you know, what fertilizer. We're constantly sowing grass seed for erosion purposes out there, and this could expedite the growth process.
Sounds great.
So, yeah, I will get something put together, kind of show what kind of cost we could be, you know, saving versus what we're outlaying and how quickly we could recoup the cost of it.
Sounds awesome.
Sounds good.
I think that was everything on the list that I had. Do you have any other questions, or are you guys okay with the format as far as presenting?
I'm good with it.
I love it. Yeah,
Okay.
that's great. I just wanted to say you're doing a great job.
I appreciate it. We've
Yeah.
got an ambitious year. We've had some issues with scheduling to get everybody in the room, but tomorrow, as far as solid waste, sewer districts, landfill operations, we're gonna go over, really dig into what our big goals for the year are and how we can accomplish those.
Sounds good.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you
Kyle.
for
I really
coming
appreciate it.
down. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I don't think so. I'm always available if there's anything that comes up that you need an answer or some type of, you know, what's going on with this between the second Wednesday of every month. Just feel free to reach out to me, because be more than happy to kind of try to talk you guys through it, show you whatever. One of the things that we did with the previous board, and it was kind of here and there, was quarterly site visits down to the landfill. Are you guys interested in that? A semi-annual? Because
100%.
one of the things, it would be more of a semi-annual. Right now, I'll be completely honest, if you guys wanna go down there, you're perfectly welcome, and I would show you wherever you want to see down there. However, it is not the most conducive to getting out and walking unless you have boots, because it is typically a muddy mess. So I think if you guys would, be agreeable to it, if we could maybe do like an April and an October.
I think you guys last year went to more of a spring and then a fall
Yeah,
type, scenario.
Sounds good. Whatever you would like us to do,
Well,
and then if you need us down there more, we'll go down there.
yeah, I mean, and it's, you know, it's completely up to both of you, as
Let's
far
go
as.
with the minimum of the April and the October.
I'll get
Okay.
with you on scheduling for, April and September, October.
Okay,
That'll work.
alright,
Yeah.
thanks.
Hey,
Thank
thank you.
So with that, do you have anything additional?
I do, actually. I'm wondering if maybe we should not get the sheriff on the phone because of the FBI put out an alert for counties and states and everything else with the unrest potentially between the dates of the 17th and the 21st, I believe. And I wanted to know what he, you know, if anything, I know this area probably nothing will happen, but I just wanna make sure that he's, you know, got a plan and
We're all on the same page.
everybody's on the same page. I don't know if that's probably something we probably wanna do.
You're gonna do that in executive.
Yes, we would wanna do that in executive session, I would agree. So I don't know if he would be available for a call. I should have texted him already, but
Yeah, I can, if you guys want to recess.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
recess.
yeah, cause I would like to see what he wants to do additional, if anything.
So the idea being if he's available, that, coming back from recess, that hopefully we're going into executive if he's available.
To discuss courthouse security.
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 Okay?